Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it.
Okay, so to kind of transition to these topics, because I think breaking this into 3 logical parts is the way to do this. I think the first part that we have to talk about is, like, what do we want from the event? Obviously, a typical would have been 3 very real, very large events to build up an expansion, which may or may not have timed well with patches. But now we've moved to all digital, and this is part 1. We know there's things cut. I mean, it already was intended to be a 14-hour thing, and it already has shortened. It'll still be long for those of us covering the whole thing in one sitting, because there's a live letter as the back half, but it's not 14 hours. So, like, what do we expect to get cut? I assume Q&As, things like that. And then what do we still expect to, like, do we still open with a trailer and then the title?
So specifically, to be clear, it wasn't the announcement stream that was cut. The 14-hour broadcast was going to be like, like the anniversaries where they do 14 hours, they do like, they bring out like one person and talk to them. They do it maybe like a panel. They sit on that round couch, and for some reason, Foxconn is dressed in the most awkward outfit I've ever seen in my life. All of the announcement portion, nothing's cut. That's everything that we were going to get that was going to be like a raw announcement. That's going to be exactly the same. So I just expect more information about who worked on this, like a panel with the person who wrote the story, maybe if it was Ishikawa, or, somebody with the lead combat designer, or somebody talking, like doing a panel about the design of Beastmaster, if that gets announced. Those are the things I expect, the more nitty gritty, and we'll get that in May, probably. Okay. But all the information, the trailer, not the whole trailer, mind you. I don't think we're getting the whole trailer, but the trailer and any details that they've planned to announce, those should stay the same.
So what do you want from the announcement? Focusing, not worrying about 5.5. We're all, I would say, starved for information for Final Fantasy. What do we want? What do you want specifically? Because we've done this before. This isn't our first rodeo. Like, just maybe start with like setting it in reality, and then essentially say what would make Mr. Happy like fall out of your chair, drop some explicitives on stream with like you're doing it with Athos and I forget Sly
Athos, the 3 of the 4 horsemen.
Cool. So you guys be sure to check out their live stream and live reactions as well.
Is there a lore quiz in the intermission? Those are so much fun.
I hope not, because I've already done very poorly on those.
Go on, Brian. Sorry.
No, it was more, that was my question. Like, what do you want? Like, setting it in reality, because I think it's important to start with that. But then what makes you lose your mind? What's the thing that you want to see Yoshi P talk about on the 5th?
So I think reality is about 2/3 of the information we would have gotten from the traditional fan fests. It's the blow my mind is everything that we would have gotten, but that's already not possible. The trailer should be generally when they do the trailers at the start of fan fest, it's like a minute teaser, then like a slightly extended version, then the finished version, which usually has like spoilers for whatever the last story patch is. That we won't get that. We won't get the finished trailer. We'll get like the extended cut of whatever trailer they want to show. I think realistically, minimum 1 job reveal. Of course, optimistically is if they do everything, if there are 2 jobs being revealed. Obviously, things like the location, the raid series, the 24-man. I think a lot of people wonder, how can you cram 3 FanFests worth of information? But every FanFest, the first 30 minutes is a recap, and then they still go back to every point. Like, we told you there's a new raid. We're going to tell you what it is now. They don't have to do that. There's so much overlap from topic to topic. So I think it's realistic that even though there is another official digital FanFest planned for May, that I feel like that's more for us in terms of like we didn't get one at all. Whereas this is like, okay, everything we can spare to tell you, we will tell you now, as long as we're not waiting for something to happen in 5.5. I think Beastmaster's limited job is going to be there. That's going to be highly, highly contentious of a topic when it comes around. And then I think the thing that'll blow my mind is if we see us going to the moon.
Oh yeah, you think we're going? The Lunarians coming into play here with 6.0?
I think 5.4 has told us all we really need to know, and we're going to the moon. Okay,
Brian, can you imagine a Destiny 2 crossover?
There's
there's your mind blowing.
That would be
which moon are we going to?
I mean, Yoshi P wants to do the World of Warcraft collab at some point, so
That would be amazing.
So Chris, same question to you. Like, setting your expectations in reality, and then let's go to the moon. Like, what to the moon? Hold the line. Go ahead.
If I'm ever in doubt of what reality is, I can go watch a Happy video that's going to do a rundown of things, and like, there's nobody that's going to know more accurately what's there. So like, just blatant open flattery there. Like he you hit all the points, right? That's what sums up our, is the next raid series a crossover? If so, are they going to introduce who's handling it? They're not going to reveal anything story based. They're not going to reveal the trial fights. It's going to be question marks, and it's going to be like, but with the first patch, there'll be a dungeon. There'll be and it's just not. It's not going to tell you anything. But I think revealing the location will be exciting. Getting a title will be exciting. Trailers, while they're not based in being necessarily cutscenes, they're not necessarily. I mean, Ethos has pointed out they're not canon. They are exciting and they're hype, and that's so that they're avoid being spoilery. But like, I think starting to hear the beginning of a soundtrack would be amazing. Shadowbringers has blown us away musically, so getting some feel for what the tone is going to be. I would love to see them kind of have some statements beyond that address. One of the things I really appreciate about Shadowbringers as a filthy story skipper is that Yoshi P recommended that, hey, you can hop back on here. Like, you don't have to be aware. And like, that gave me a chance as somebody that I have an immense amount of respect for. When he said that, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, he said, I'm going to do this. And I fell in love with the story in Shadowbringers. And yes, there are times that somebody appears and it's a face reveal and it means nothing to me. Like, it means nothing. And so like, everybody's like, oh my gosh. And like, yes, those moments passed me by, but the vast majority was, okay, you gave me like a brief little epithet about like who this person is. That was enough that I can keep up. And now I have other questions, and I've started another character, and I'm playing through stuff that I missed since I've been playing through my ARR. So like, I'm having a Sprout experience as a longtime player. And that's thanks to Shadowbringers. And I hope we do that again. I hope this is written in a way where this expansion can invite people in, people that say, you know what, I just want to play what I see on stream. I just want to play what my friends are playing. And if they were to, buy a story skip or a character skip and hop into the expansion, it's an invitation in. And we're not going to, one of the things I really appreciate about Shadowbringers is we didn't leave people behind who didn't have 300 to 500 hours of experience in the game or more. So like, that's something I would like to be right from the outset of 6.0, make it really clear. Like, this is yet another invitation into a game that's meant a pretty large deal to me. I don't know. That's something that I think was very clear from the very first FanFest last time.
Yeah. Anything gets you to fall out of your chair, lose your mind, just downright, like, join me with some F-bombs.
I won't fall out of my chair if they do the Xbox announcement. But I will be extremely excited because it's utterly not needed at this event, but it is something that I want. And so like, whenever it gets here, it'll be that long awaited thing that like, I'm really thrilled about. The Xbox announcement would be big. To get me to fall out of my chair is like, we wanted Phil to come on stage, but it really wouldn't have been fair to the fact that it's also coming to Nintendo Switch. Like, that would be the thing that's just like, no freaking way. No way. No way. That's impossible. That almost made Happy fall out of his chair now. Like, that's no way.
Is this really falling? As much as it's funny because before you even said Switch, the meme where it's the guy looking at, it's a guy looking at a picture and he's like, and then the second picture happens, he's like, that's exactly what I meant. I was like, it's coming to Xbox and Switch. Exactly what went through my mind.
I mean, we support PlayStation, so like, why not other consoles? So I would love to see it come to Xbox. We believe it's coming to Xbox. This would be the time to announce, in my opinion. A crossover event is another opportunity, regardless of who it is. A crossover event, and then the more I'm attached to whatever the crossover is with, is the more I fall out of the chair. But I know that like, when Nier was announced, I wasn't attached to Nier, and for other people that meant a lot. For other people that was really exciting. Nier's not a game I played.
So when the Xbox announcement happens, is that the Master Chief? Is that the Halo Infinite crossover?
Well, the great thing about the Halo Infinite crossover is it never has to happen because the game's never coming out. They're just going to see how much money they can spend developing something.
It's in Halo Infinite development time. Infinite Microsoft money.
But the Xbox is powerful enough, and the Xbox has a platform where they can decide, how do we want to do this? So like, and then the question from there is, how does that roll out, right? is the free trial all the way through Stormblood with Xbox Game Pass. Like, and that's just a question of money. That's just a question of how much does Xbox give Final Fantasy on the back end to make this happen. And we won't ever know the number, but like we'll all speculate, just like with a Ninja deal here on Twitch to Mixer.
We were right about the Ninja deal. We were right about the Ninja deal. We called that number.
And if Microsoft
most people, I feel like we're right about that.
Yeah.
If Microsoft throws out a number, then that's something that I'm excited about. I think gameplay wise, I'm just excited to have more game. Some small part of me is concerned that Shadowbringers was so good that I didn't go into I went into Shadowbringers like, oh, this will be as good as Stormblood, and then I was blown away. And now I'm like, cool, let's give me another Shadowbringers. And like, that's not fair. That's like, we could have a great game and it doesn't have to blow the doors off Shadowbringers. So that's my concern with the event, but I'm just excited to finally get some news. I think 2020 stretched on forever, and it's nice to finally be doing this. I wish we were doing it in person, but we're here now.
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be truly game-changing in terms of like when you kind of think of what could have been. One of the things that I've been talking about with a lot of the players is they're just like talking about their frustration with the current state of the game, and it's that traditionally the current state of the game isn't shocking to me. It's, you know, you've been on this rodeo. Here's your raids. Here's your tomes. Here's the content. But it's also married with like the fact of like either what job is coming or we know what job is coming. How do we think it's all going to work? It's married by what's coming next. And we've had not just a drought in a couple of pieces of content throughout 2020, but a drought in like what's coming next. Like, where are we going with this thing? Because I want to be excited for it. That excitement can help, you know, just survive the whole concept of like, well, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to get another relic, but I'm going to because it's going to look amazing. And then I'm going to be able to glamour that in 2 years when we're talking about 7.0. Before the show, Happy and I were talking about like just the fact that we probably will never see Scholar and Summoner separated. But I'm going to say like I'll reverse the question for me. The thing that would make me fall out of my chair is if it's not 6.0, but if Yoshi P goes, and then in 7.0, new engine, 1,000 years in the future, and we finally figured out how to separate Summoner and Scholar from the class system. Since it's the only one, like once they got rid of made all the changes with 5.0, I was like, they'll never bring in another job on top of a class again, because we were talking about like Geomancer, like how I would have loved to see Geomancer be another job off of Conjurer. I think that would have been something really cool to see. So there's several jobs that I would love to see them kind of just sprinkle them into the current class structure, but we're not unfortunately going to be getting that in that case. So that would be the thing that makes me fall out of the chair. Xbox wouldn't make me fall out of the chair, but I want it so bad. I think there's like everybody's asking like, when's it coming? Phil Spencer says it's coming. Yoshi P says we're working on it. You know, it's like, but when, like, is it going in, and then to the point where it's like, it just makes sense to have it with the expansion. And if it doesn't make the expansion, like, are we talking about another 2 years? Like, we're continually kicking this can down the street. Go ahead, Mr. Happy.
I love that you keep talking about the Xbox version and haven't even mentioned just an actual PS5 client. Like, that hasn't even come up once.
Why? I would say that's guaranteed. I would say that's guaranteed. Like, hey,
I think that's what happens when they do the PS5 announcement. They go, and.
Yeah, this is our new console client. Why'd they say console? Oh.
And you know what? Actually, Xbox finally made at least one of the two moves they needed to pave the way for this recently. Because after they made a kerfuffle, a huge one recently, with doubling the cost of their. They reversed that change.
Like, there has to be something we're not knowing. They can't. Yes. They can't be this dumb.
Yeah.
Well, they can't. It's here's the thing about that whole like when we say kerfuffle, like if you think in hindsight, it could have been so much better. They could have come out and say, "Hey, we're going to remove the gold requirement for free to play games. Xbox is great. They're amazing." No, they go, "Hey, we're going to double the cost and you're not getting anything for it. F you." Oh, guys, we're back in track. And at least they listened and responded appropriately. But you think about it, like you could have managed that entire day and you could have come out looking like a hero rather than an idiot. And but at least
I think idiot was the only route, honestly. I think it was the only one way to go.
That's how it ended up happening. I was like, they doubled the cost. I was like, they just need to get rid of it. But it's like, okay, we're going to double the cost. And by the way, it's going to be 10 times better. And here's how it is. That took me all the way back to 2013 when they were like, hey, by the way, like you can't trade games. You can't do all these things, but you can do some but they were like, when they did that, they were like, you can do some really cool stuff, but we can't show it to you yet. Like it was such a marketing problem because it's like, they talked about like, we can have family share. Like there's all these like systems that they were talking about putting in, but they couldn't display them because they weren't ready. And so, yeah, like the internet's like, why are you taking something away? And I'm not getting anything for it, only the promise of something that might happen. Maybe. Anyway, long story short, I would make Xbox would be a great thing. And then overall, I think my only concern going in, and I'm glad I'm going third, so I'm slightly the negative one here. My only concern is that we've been to so many of these fan fests that it's going to be yes, the level cap is increasing. Yes, you're getting some dungeons. Yes, there's going to be more story. Did he say we're getting new story? Like, oh, that was the announcement I was waiting for. Right. Like, like I hope that
and the line on the slide will be like, you're getting a full RPG worth of story or whatever, which should be impressive. But it's like,
yeah, but I get that every time.
Yeah, I get that every year.
I get that every year. And then essentially, like, my hope is that they take this opportunity, being that there's no live audience, that they kind of rethink how they just decide their presentation, because people aren't going to be, they won't be able to hear the screams and the cheers and things like that. So it's like, hopefully this is a good opportunity.
They push a button.
Turn around, Yoshi P. Show us your damn shirt. Oh my goodness.
And gotta call into the Zoom.
In his interview with Gamerscape, he goes, oh, I guess I should think about what shirt I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're just now thinking of that? No,
all right. Hot topic.
Right, so that's the end of segment one.
Yeah. Hot topic before we transition.
Okay.
Male Vieira? Yes, no. Happy. No. Yeah, we're all no's.
No.
All
I made
no's.
that mistake once before. I'm not making it again.
I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.